So over the years, there's been a lot made of a famous quote by Jack Nicklaus speaking on releasing from the top.
It may surprise you, but I firmly believe is that it's impossible to release the club at the top of the downswing too soon as long as you move to your left side.
In my experience and through some actual conversations I've had with Mr. Nicklaus, I think there's more to the story than that. So as many of you know, I coach at Superstition Mountain, and Mr. Nicklaus designed both of our golf courses. And prior to coming to Superstition Mountain, I came from a club called Red Ledges up in Utah, where Mr. Nicklaus also designed that golf course. And long about 2009 or 10, I had the privilege of meeting Mr. Nicklaus and talking to him. And one of the things I was able to chat with him about was the concept of releasing in the golf swing and his ideas, because I had read that article that talked on the subject of releasing from the top. And what that article talks about is a little more than the quote we often hear. We've heard many talk about the idea that we need to release out of the top. But Jack went more in depth in reality. He talked about pressure, how grip pressure, tension levels in our arms, and how if those are correct, it's really impossible to release too early from the top. Alongside the principles of tension, he talked about sequence and how a player needs to get pressure or land back to the left side. And if they are able to do that, keep the tension levels low and swing from inside the target line, then it's actually impossible to release too soon. Based on what I've read from Mr. Nicklaus and my actual conversation with him, what he's getting at is that if we move correctly with correct tension levels, the release is kind of a natural thing. We shouldn't be trying to hang on and hold lag, but we also shouldn't be trying to throw it out either. It should be kind of a natural occurring thing.
The first movement that you make from the top of the swing is moving to the left side. That's by probably planting the left heel. You move to the left side, it releases the lower part of your body, your upper part of your body, your arms, your hands, the club, and the club head is the last thing to really get going.
So if you've been a follower of mine or a student of mine, you've probably seen me do some drills where I teach the player not to release the golf club. Then you're going to turn it up and then let it follow you, hit the golf ball, and just hold it like this. The motion, there you go. Where we actually purposely don't release. And the reason behind that is to get you to learn to sequence things correctly by landing back to the lead side and unwinding and allowing that club to come from inside the target line. And it's only possible when you learn to sequence things correctly. Here's an example of one of the drills you'll often see me use. So if we slow that down, you'll be able to see that I never really unloaded my right wrist. However, if I were to add some speed and keep the tension levels low, you better believe that those angles are going to unwind and fast. For many of you at home that find yourselves looking more like this at impact, this could be an awesome drill to actually help you learn to unwind things and look a little bit more like Jack did as he's approaching impact. So in the learning phases, as you're walking through this drill, you might actually need to feel like there is some tension keeping that golf club from releasing in the beginning. But as you get more and more accustomed to moving through the motion and get better at flowing through, the goal is to take the tension out and begin to let the release happen on its own. For that reason, I like to think of the release as more of a byproduct, a natural occurrence, something that's happening due to physics, than something that we're forcing. It's something I see all too often on my lesson tee as players trying to force speed into the club head, and it doesn't look anything like what we see from the best players in the world. So if you can learn to create a pivot where you land pressure left and you start to unwind, and then you can learn how to take the tension out, then we start to see a golf swing that looks like the best. So by learning to land our pressure back to the lead side while we're still in our winding phase or transition, we can start to sequence things correctly, where we start to see our body land and unwind, and the last piece of the chain that starts to move is the golf club itself.
You move to the left side, it releases the lower part of your body, your upper part of your body, your arms, your hands, the club, and the club head is the last thing to really get going.
Generally with amateur players, we see a little of the opposite. We see them wind up to the right and they don't ever really land, so then when they go to try to swing, they're moving laterally and throwing the club down at the same time. So we've got things out of order. So let's learn how to land back to the left while we're winding ourselves up. And in order to do that, I highly recommend a few different exercises. You can do some heel taps, where you get your trail heel off the ground in the pre-swing, so as a kind of a trigger, land it, get your lead heel off the ground, and then get it to plant before the club starts to come down. And I'm actually standing on a downshift board, which is another one of my favorite tools to teach this, where a player can feel how to get the board to rock and get the timing to line up with what they're trying to do, so then you can really tow that golf club back down into the hitting zone and allow it to unload naturally. So by trying to throw it out of the top, we can start to see a few strange things happening. We can get really scoopy. Oftentimes we'll see the lower half thrusting into the way, trying to get the golf club not to run into the ground. Let's really work hard on learning how to wind up and land back to the left so we can tow that golf club around correctly. So to close this out, instead of thinking about releasing the golf club from the top, how about we think about releasing our pressure back to our lead side so we're able to then tow that golf club around and let the energy out naturally. So thank you all for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and hopefully I was able to communicate some of the ideas expressed by Mr. Nicklaus as he felt them and as he explained himself. Again, thanks for watching. Come visit us at milolinesgolf.com for more information and to learn how to swing like an athlete. Be sure to smash that like and subscribe button. We'll see you next time.